Jaden played over half the game Tuesday. Tyrese had another strong game. What did you like by, some of the younger players, especially late when the team came back and there was a bit of a push? And what can they take into a game like tomorrow, kind of a must-win atmosphere at home?
Yeah, it was good that those guys continued to compete. Obviously, we weren't pleased with how we started the game and didn't really feel like we put ourselves in position to, we were down 8 the whole game, right, or more. But those guys at that point were fighting. I felt like we made some energy plays. Jaden had a few deflections that have tip in. Tyrese was staying aggressive, attacking. So part of it is, having that mentality and that mindset and being competitive and having competitive endurance. And, those guys kept fighting to a point. So we're happy with that.
I believe you called Tuesday's game at West Virginia a game you guys needed to win. I'm curious, do you view Saturday as something more, or is it just another game on the schedule right now?
Yeah, I would say every game at this point for us is, you could put in the must-win category. We certainly did a great job in non-league play, going 13-0, and even with some impactful wins in the starter league play. But where we are at in the season right now, and obviously it's not like a secret. We'd like to play in the NCAA tournament. In order to do that, there's some games we still need to win. How many? I don't know the exact amount, but we know we only have 7 regular season games to go. So I guess from that standpoint, you could say that every game would be in the must-win category, and you would assume that the ones at Hilton would be ones that most folks would look at and say that those are even more winnable because they're on our home court in front of our fans.
After Kansas, I think you said you weren't sure at that point why the physicality for you guys wasn't at the level that we saw in the non-conference. I'm curious, with a couple games after that, have you figured out maybe why you guys are kind of off to some slow starts here?
Well, I think number one, we're playing better teams than we played in non-league play. Number two, those teams are more physical. They have more bodies, more big bodies. So, it certainly has an impact on our guys. Then, if you're not scoring the ball at a reasonable rate and your shots aren't going in, that affects guys' energy. They're human beings too. And so, in the league, because the teams have such good defenses and so many physical bodies, we've had more challenges in scoring. And so there's a psychological effect to that as well. So I think it's the teams are better in the league than what we played outside the league. The teams have more bodies and more physicality than what we played outside the league. And then we're not scoring the ball as well. So all those things factor in. Now, if I was going to be totally honest, I'd say that there probably wasn't a team in America playing harder and more physical through November, December, and early January than what we were. And I would say that, put me on record as saying that. There's nobody in America playing it as well as we were. But that's been impacted because of those 3 reasons. At the same time, our guys are playing hard and they're giving effort. It's just, I think we were like as good as anyone in America, if not better at a stretch in the year. And now we're giving good effort. Our guys are trying hard, but based on the challenges that we're having scoring the basketball consistently, that's not going to get it done. That's not going to cut it based on where we're at. So our solutions are we either have to get over the fact that there's going to be some challenges offensively, because we had some in the non-league as well and played through them. We had a game like Creighton where we didn't score very well. Isaiah started 0 for 9, and then it came back around for us. So more than anything, we have to play really hard, and then we have to realize everyone's going to talk about what's happened, but when we started league play on this January 1, we were 12-0, ranked number 8 in the country, and I think at that time what you're hoping is, man, we'd love to be playing in the NCAA tournament. As we sit here, going 3-8 so far in league play, that's still a thing. So really, we have to look at what's in front of us and what we can do as a team, much more than what has happened or why it's happened.
I know in the post game you talked about how you need to get back to being who you are at West Virginia. Does that tie into what you're talking about? You said you're doing a good job with the effort, but you have to do an elite job with that end. when the offense is sometimes a challenge, like you said?
Yeah, and I don't think that's that's not like a big secret, right? Like, I mean, I'm at all the games. You guys are at the games. Like, I will put what we were doing to about mid-January up against anyone in the country. We played harder, tougher, more physical. There's a lot of coaches we played against that said, man, the defense you guys are playing, I haven't seen anything like that. Some were comparing it to Texas Tech the year they were in the national title. So to me, it was just such an effort-based thing and energy and infused that our guys played so hard that we turned people over at really high rates. We scored in transition regularly. And I think our guys got lost in just playing so hard, right? And we were able to score baskets against those teams, which now, again, you start to question yourself sometimes when now you're looking at it and you're playing teams that are really good defensively and you don't score for 4 or 5 minutes, or you start 1 for 9 from 3, or all those things. They certainly factor in mentally, and they have. Like, I don't think that's a secret, but I don't think in our bag of tricks isn't come out and shoot 43s and hope we make 20 of them. I think we all know what the outcome would be if we did that. What we need to do is find it within ourselves to look at what we have in front of us, the joy that we can play with, the energy we can play with, the enthusiasm we need to play with, embrace that, and then that's what we can do. And so we've proven that we can do it. But it's a different gut punch, and you have to dig deep and find that resiliency, when things aren't going your way or haven't gone your way as much like recently for us.
What was the reason Trey didn't play on Saturday?
Yeah, I would just say, for all of our guys, I want urgency. So, I mean, when Trey has been really, really urgent, like he was early in the year, he always played. If I don't feel that urgency every day, we have a lot of guys on our team that if they don't play with tremendous urgency all the time, they're not helping our team win to the level that we need. And so it's not just for Trey, but what I'm looking for right now from all of our guys is that energy, that enthusiasm, that urgency, and that would qualify an urgency to pressure the ball, urgency to take care of the ball, urgency to rebound the ball and get 50-50 balls. And what you'll see as we move forward is the guys that are doing those things the most will be the guys that we count on. And I think we're at the point in the year where, like, nobody's, necessarily entitled to anything. And so, you're going to see probably different rotations. You could see different starting lineups. You could see different guys coming off the bench at different times. So I know that, through the first 23 games, it was pretty consistent and predictable. I would say that right now things are going to be less predictable day in and day out and more predicated on who's playing with tremendous urgency.
You talk about the level of physicality you guys played with for the first 2 months. I guess this is a bigger picture question than maybe just this team. Does that naturally degrade throughout a season, or can you play as physical on November 11th as you can in March 11th, or is that just going to naturally ebb and flow?
Yeah, that's I would say I believe you can. To do it, you probably have to have a little bit more depth than what we have, right? I mean, if you look at Texas Tech, they've done it probably, right, or for the most part, and they have a few more bodies, a few more guys. They can play 10, 11. They've gone probably to 12. We haven't played more than 9 in a game. So I think you've got to have real depth. You've got to have the bodies to do it, too, physically. And whether we do or we don't to maintain over a long season, I don't have the exact answer. But I do think you have to have, the bodies as well. But more important even than the depth and the bodies is the mindset, right? Is guys who don't get discouraged when things aren't going their way. I think that it's awesome how our guys, bought in immediately and what they did from a work capacity. We've also been very mindful of how we practice. So I know that we're demanding when we do practice, but we're not a team, I would say that at this point in the year, we're not having 3-hour practices or even 2-hour practices. We're trying to be really efficient and be mindful of we need to utilize our bodies and that energy on the nights we play the game. So we've made a lot of choices off the court to do that. So that makes me feel like it's probably, a depth thing, a mental thing, And with the mental thing, probably like playing through the discouragement or disappointment of things not going your way. I think, a lot of times, with young people in general, they're willing to buy in and believe in something when things are going the way they want it to go. What we're trying to talk to our guys about in our program about is having competitive endurance when it doesn't go the way you want it to go. And so I know that you can do that, but it takes a really strong mindset and continued commitment. But to your point, it's challenging to do over the course of a 31-game season. But I think with more depth, more mental toughness, and more physical bodies, that's a job that you can do.
I asked you about the NCAA tournament, I think, on Monday. But I guess now, you were talking 7 games, 4 home games. The math is pretty obvious for your guys if they want to take a second to do that. I mean, do you guys try to put your head down and not address that, or is it just too obvious to ignore, I guess?
Yeah, no, I think that's what it's come to, right? Like, I'm not somebody that ever talks about, I've not been someone that says, hey, our goal is to win the league, or our goal is to go to the NCAA tournament. I think for all of us, your actions speak louder than what your words are, right? So I'm just somebody that's like, come every day, outwork everybody. Come every day, you want to shoot it well, get more shots. So, but we've gotten to a point for our guys where I think it's we've recognized it this week. We've addressed it. We've talked about it. We wanted to do it more from a mindset of saying, whatever's happened, like I think it would be fair that when we sat in this room before the season started, however many games people thought we would win or not win, I would guess we've won more than what people would have thought at the start, right? So what we tried to do with our guys is to get them to, first of all, reflect on some of the things that we have accomplished, right? Some of the wins that we've had. I think we've played, 17 Power 5 teams. We've still been 9-8 against those teams, right? So reflect on, nobody thought we'd win those games. Everybody had us picked dead last, 10 out of 10, not even close. And think about what we've actually done with this group, and now look at what we have in front of us. And when you do that, you say in front of us, you talk about the NCAA tournament. You talk about George has played in it, Isaiah's played in it, Gabe's played in it. So you talk to guys about it, and what is that like, and what is that experience? Because even though the most important thing is that we have a great practice today, and then it's a one game at a time deal. And anytime you get ahead of yourself, you put yourself in a bad position. When you look at the aggregate, you know that we're playing for it. And so we've started talking to our guys about it. But again, I'll still say that it's, if you want to do that, have a great practice today, play as hard and as physical and aggressive as you can tomorrow, and now we still are in position to do that. If we don't embrace today and we don't do that tomorrow, things can get away from us in a hurry. And again, I just say everything we were playing for on whatever that was on January 1 when we were getting ready to play Baylor, and there was all the buildup to, top 10 teams and undefeated this point in the year, as crazy as it is, we're still playing for the exact same thing as we take to court for Kansas State tomorrow.